Okay, so to start our text lecture, which is really the start of a larger topic called annotation, I'm going to go to this PC and I'm going to go to my CAD Common. And when this gets posted online, of course, this file will be online, but Arch 1310 drawings and let's see, text. We'll try justification. Yes, that's what I want. Okay, so I want this file, and then I'm also going to open up the one next to it, text style here. There we go. Okay, so these two files, if you have already looked at the text, well, maybe this module is not published, so that's a lie. But these two files are going to be the files that you begin your assignment with for the text assignment. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things on these, and I'm actually going to open up our reading, so text and text styles. Okay, so I'm going to open up that. Hopefully you guys are going through these text style handouts, and hopefully they're pretty helpful. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit first about I want to talk about text in general, and then I'm going to show you how to create different text styles. And a text style is essentially a style of text that has the font and the size defined into it. Really, that's what a text style is. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about what we'll call old text, and I'm going to talk about new text. Okay, with regard to annotative text. Okay, so the way that we're going to go about this is we're going to use annotative text. So in this case, this first page of this handout talks about old text, where we're not going to be using annotative. Okay, so I just want to make that clarification here. All right, and a little bit further down, let's see, multi-line. Oh, I think I might have to. Oh, it's in this document right here. Annotative AutoCAD. In this second document here, this is where annotative text is mentioned, right? Okay. So this first document, text, this talks about the old way that we used to do text. And it is still relevant because sometimes you have to do text this way. But this annotative technique, this is really how we're going to go about it and work through our text styles. Okay? All right. So let me just pull up. I'm going to pull up, let's see. I'm going to pull up some architectural detail sheets here. And while I'm pretty sure the image quality is going to be bad, I'm just going to click on a few of these, okay? Because I want you to understand, first of all, the idea of annotation in a set of drawings, all right? So if I look at this drawing right here, look at this. All you have to do is read this article to become an architect, right? When I look at this drawing right here, this is a building section, and you're going to see annotation all over any type of architectural drawing, including this one, okay? So annotation is going to be any descriptive text or dimension or leader that you see on a drawing sheet, okay? So this right here where we have text and then we have a leader pointing to something, right? It says 2x8 ridge beam, okay? So it's describing some aspect of the architecture right here and it's pointing to it. That's annotation, okay? We have a piece of text right here that just says great room, all right? That's a piece of annotation that talks about which room we're currently looking at, okay? We have this line right here that has a dimension or a number, a dimension on it, okay? That's a string, a dimension string right there. Sorry, I know it's a little blurry, but you guys get the idea. So a dimension like this will show, you know, the dimension of something. So in this case, it looks like from the subfloor to the top of beam at porch, we have 8 feet 9 inches, right? So pretty important information that is described for the person that's building this, okay? So that's what annotation is going to be used for, okay? To give descriptive kind of text input on drawings. So it really just complements the graphic nature of the drawings that we're actually creating, okay? So today we're going to learn how to create that. And I think we'll probably just get to how to create text and text styles today. And then on Monday we'll talk about dimensions and dimension styles. And then Wednesday we'll talk about annotative, hopefully. Just a little side note, you guys realize that fall break starts tomorrow, right? How could we all forget? Not that it affects our class really, but there's no classes tomorrow and Friday and Saturday if any of you take Saturday classes, okay? All right, so I'm going to talk about text, and to do that I'm going to come away from the Home tab up here, right, in the top left-hand corner, and I'm going to move over here to the Annotate tab, okay? So I see we have the Annotate tab, and I have a lot of different annotation type commands in here, okay? So we have text over here and text styles and dimensions right here, and we have leaders right here. We have tables right here, okay? And for now, we're just really kind of worried about this text one, but just like, you know, I've mentioned this before in AutoCAD, and this is actually something that's similar to Revit. These tabs, you know, they contain tools that are similar in nature for a specific task. So annotating, you go to the Annotate tab where you find text, dimensions, leaders, etc. Okay. Now that's not to say that I can't access my text and text styles from the Home menu. The Home menu has a lot of the kind of typical drawing modification commands, but they, you know, there's also this little kind of quick menu for text, dimensions. There's a little mini annotation menu here, okay? So if I click on this little down arrow, I see my text style drop down, I see my dimension style drop down, right? I see my multi-leader style drop down. And so while I get kind of the full palette of annotation things here, right? Tools and modification commands, I do have access to those same things kind of on this little mini menu, okay, which is really nice, so that when you're in model space, you can draw, you can modify, you can annotate, you can change your layers, and you don't have to be on that kind of specific Annotate tab that doesn't have all those other commands on it, okay. All right, so let's talk about text, okay, and I'm going to talk about text. I'm going to talk about text styles. I'm also going to talk a teensy bit, you like that word, right? Teensy. We're going to talk a teensy bit about annotative scaling, okay? But I'm not going to explain the full topic today, all right? First thing, I want to talk about two different types of text that we have available to us, okay? I'm going to come up here on the top left-hand corner of my screen, and I'm going to click on the little down arrow here, and you'll see that we have multi-line text and we have a single line text option, okay? Now, single line text, and let me just show you what that is without explaining the command. Single line text, if I click on that, and I click on my screen, because if I look down here at my command line, it says specify the start point for my text, okay? If I just click on my screen and it says specify a height, maybe I'll say 1 inch, enter. Specify a rotation, enter. I can type Shelly, okay? And I click out in space, Shelly. Click out in space, bodily. 1, enter. 2, enter. 3, enter. 4, enter, okay? And I click in space and I hit escape, okay? The idea behind single line text is that when you click, you can just start placing a single line of text, okay? So that, excuse me, and that is different from multi-line text, where when I come up here to multi-line text, I'm allowed to click once, click a second time, and create a kind of a text box, right, where I'm allowed to then kind of type in paragraph format, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it wraps, right, 8, 9, 10, period, okay? I hit close editor and I'm done with my multi-line text, okay? So if I were to say, you know, a good use for each one of them, multi-line text is going to be really helpful for, let's see if we can, in our drawings, the drawing that I have here is not a good illustration of multi-line text, but it's a good illustration of single line text. Okay, so I'm going to skip over to that one for just a second. But single line text is a really great use for things like this room name, right? Great room, porch, foyer, closet, right? I could take that single line text, I could justify it, and I could place one single line of text just kind of in space in my drawing, okay? So room names, simple little strings of text that are descriptive, that's what single line text is going to be very helpful for, okay? Multi-line text is going to be really helpful when you have to write paragraph style text on drawings. And I think the best illustration of that would be something like general notes. So let's see if I can find a page with some general notes on it. That looks like it has it. I can't quite tell. Okay, so we may not be able to read it. Let's zoom in here though. Oh, who's voting for Aaron Mendenhall? Oh my gosh, how do I get rid of it? There we go. Okay. Okay, so you'll see here we have a detail, we have dimensions and all that good stuff on it, but kind of off to the right hand side of those we have these kind of paragraph like instances of text, okay? So these are going to be keynotes, which you guys may or may not know what those are. I'm not going to just really describe them, but they may be keynotes, they may be general notes that describe conditions on the page, but really that multi-line text in architectural drawings is going to be used in instances where we have kind of paragraph-like text that describes, we'll say, the larger picture in a set of drawings, okay? So let's see. I want to get a really good example here for you. Okay. Oh no, maybe. Here's a good one. We have a code review on this front page of this drawing set. That was a good instance of using multi-line text right there, actually. Okay. Here we go. So you can see here, right, somebody did a building code or a building code review, or they just listed the building codes and they were in paragraph style typing out what all of those were, right? So notes, different things like that. Drawing index is really great. Single or multi-line text is great for a drawing index, that type of thing, okay? But essentially the main difference between the two is that one is paragraph style and the other is just a single line of text, essentially, okay? Text is like any other object in AutoCAD where I can create it, I can select it, and I can put it on a layer. Envelope, text, okay? So usually you'll have an annotation layer for your text, and it will be called A-ANO, A-N-N-O, text, T-E-X-T, okay? So your annotation goes on an annotation layer that is described as text, okay? So text is an object. It can be on a layer. You can print it. You can choose to not print it, okay? The thing that we're going to talk about today with regards to text is how to create it even better than I just showed you, and then how to aesthetically alter it. So how do I change the font? How do I change the size of the text? And then how do I save those things into a style so that I don't have to continue to define these things, okay? All right, so we have our single line text here. One other thing I want to point out, we have a grip here. If I click on the grip, I could take this and I can move it and I could align it with something, okay? I can click on the multi-line text. I have a grip that will let me move the object, but I also have this little arrow that if I click on it and I move it over and I click again, I can make my text box larger, right? That paragraph box gets larger or smaller. Okay, click, move in the direction I want to go, click again, okay? All right, I'm going to select some of this text and I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to show you how to create it, and then we're going to alter the text style, okay? The first thing I'm going to show you how to create is single line text, all right? And I'm going to come over here to annotate, and I'm going to click on single line text, all right? The keyboard shortcut for single line text is T-E-X-T, enter, and that will bring me into the single line text command, okay? So text is really easy to generate. If I just want to generate it in space, I type text, okay? There are a few things I have to define, but the first step in this is to click. And you'll see down here at the command line, which is going to be very helpful for you in the text command, it says specify a start point or justify, or style, okay? I'm going to talk about justify in just a second, but if I just want to place text in space, I can click. It says specify the height, okay? I am going to make this 0 for now. Or no, sorry, I lied. Specify height. Let's do 1/4 of an inch. Enter, okay? And specify rotation angle, 0. Enter. All right, so 1, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter, 4, enter. I'm going to click out and hit escape. All right, that's as easy as it is to create single line text, okay? Now, the idea of single line text is that even though I was able to hit enter and to wrap to a new line for each of these pieces of text, the idea behind single line text is it's not paragraph format. So each of these, they exist on their own, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I just clicked in space and I created this text, and that is great. And by default, it is justified on the bottom left corner of the text, right? I could grab this piece of text and I could move it over here and click on that endpoint, and it would kind of justify to that line right there, right? But there is a justification option built into the single line text option, okay? So if I type text, enter, and right here it says specify start point or justify, right? I can click on justify, or I can type J enter, and I'm going to click on justify, and it says, okay, enter an option. Do I want it left justified, center, right, align, or middle? There's fit. Fit will allow you to choose 2 points, and the text will become large enough to fit between those 2 points, right? And then we have these abbreviations, TL, top left, top center, top right, middle left, middle center, middle right, bottom left, bottom center, bottom right. Okay, so obviously top left, it's the top left corner of the text. So let me show you that. Click, oh, excuse me. I'm going to click on top left, and I can also type TL, enter, top left, specify the top left point of the text. Well, maybe this is my top left corner. Click, enter, enter again, Shelly. Okay, click and hit escape. Now my grip is at the top left corner. There is one here, but this is the top left justification corner, okay? So to initiate text again, text, enter, and for instance, if I wanted to start the text on this point, this would be the bottom left, and then the text would form this direction. So I would initiate the text command, specify the top left. Well, I don't want the top left anymore, right? I want to justify, and I want to do bottom left, BL, bottom left. Click. Specify the bottom left of text. Click. Okay. Enter, enter again. 2, 3, 4. Click and escape. Okay. So for single line text, text, enter. I have justification. Okay. The next thing that I have is, I just chose the middle center. I'm going to choose the middle center of my text. I have is the height, and this says 1/4 of an inch right here, okay? So right now, I'm kind of using the old style of text where I can input a number here, and that number will be shown on the screen, okay? I don't want to get too much into text height today because I want to talk about it a little bit more when we go over the annotative qualities of text. But for now, right, this is where if you needed to, you could enter a height, okay? But if you didn't need to, there is another option where you will be entering 0 here, okay? And the annotative quality of your text will take over. But this is where you would specify a height. We'll leave it at 1/4 of an inch for now. Enter. Oop, enter. And then it says specify rotation angle. So right now it's 0, but if I wanted it to be at a 45-degree angle, 45, enter, right? Click, escape. I could do that. Okay. Any questions about that so far? So single line text will allow you to create single lines of text that are not connected, all right? I can justify them to really almost any point on an object where I want that text to exist, and I can specify a height with that text, okay? Um, if I, okay, so if I happen to make text and then I need to edit it, editing the text string is very easy. I click on it twice very quickly, so double click, and I get this editing type interface, right? And I can hit the backspace button, 1, 1, 2, 3, enter. Okay, it immediately thinks I want to enter or edit something else, so I can then click on this, enter. Okay, so double click on it, click, click, 2, 3, 4, enter, and I could click on another piece to edit it, or I could hit escape. Okay, so single line text is very easy. Multi-line text is also very easy. All right, although it has a lot more functionality associated with it. Okay. All right, so multi-line text, like I said before, is more paragraph style type of text. So it will allow me to create paragraphs of text that are cohesive. So cohesive meaning I don't just have these individual pieces here. All right, so I'm going to click on the down arrow, choose multi-line text, okay, and I can, what I want to do first here is I want to create a text box that is similar to the rectangle command, that is the size of the paragraph that I want to generate, okay? Bless you. So I click, I move in the direction I want to go, okay? When my text box is about the size that I wanted, I can click again, okay? I could also, if I wanted to make a very specific size of text box, I could click on width, right? And I could say something like 2 inches, enter, and it would create a 2-inch width of paragraph box. Okay, let me do that one more time. Multi-line text, okay, specify your first corner, click, specify the opposite corner, or, right, height, justify, line spacing, rotation, there's a lot of options you could use. Width is one of them. 3 inches, enter, and I get a 3-inch text box. Okay, so if you get an instruction that says something like create a 2 3/4 inch text box, you're gonna enter a width when you're creating your text box. Okay, now the second that I do that, I get this kind of paragraph style editor popping up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And I'm just typing in paragraph style, okay? The text in here is edited the same way that you would edit something like in Word, a Word document, okay? So if I select the text, you'll notice up here that I have this text editor, okay? And I can re-justify this, right? I can put it in the center. I could put it on the right. I could justify it so it's, is that called justify? Justified? Whatever that spacing is called. Justify, yeah. This one is distribute, right? Make it even all the way across. Take it back to left justification. I have line spacing, bullets numbering, columns, symbols, right? All that good stuff. So really, you know, once I have this paragraph style text created, I can select it and I can alter, you know, the visual, the aesthetics of it, essentially. Okay, I can bold it. Well, I can't bold this one, I guess, but I can underline it. I can do all those fun things. Okay, when I'm finished creating my text in this paragraph, I can hit close text editor and I'm done. If I need to edit it again, I double click on it and it pops back open. Okay, all right, any questions so far about any of this? Okay, so this paragraph style or this multi-line text is, you know, it's really easy to use. There's nothing really difficult about the concept, right? If I want to make this paragraph box longer or shorter while I'm in the text command, I can click right here. I can drag it out. So seeing it's telling me the total width, 5.5, 5 3/4, 6. There we go. Hit close editor, and here we are. Okay. One thing I do want to point out is that when I oh my gosh, you guys, I just lost my train of thought on that one. Okay, so when I create my text, yeah, okay, sorry, I remembered again. The text editor, sorry, it went away. The text editor is not showing, right? I have a lot of students when we first start doing text, you know, they're like, well, I want to edit the text, or I want to change the text size or height or whatever, right? But I can't find that text editing ribbon at the top, right? And the reason is because I don't get that text editing ribbon, click, click, until I actually engage the text and it becomes editable, okay? So this text editor where I'm allowed to do all these different things up here, right? That does not exist unless I'm editing a piece of text, okay? All right. So if I wanted to use, for example, a paragraph style multi-line text right here, I could come up here, and the keyboard shortcut for multi-line text is M-T-E-X-T, M-text, multi-line text, enter, okay? And I could click on one place, click on a second place, and I could start typing. Okay. And I didn't really want it to wrap like that, so I could click on it, and while I can use my grips to make it just a little bit bigger, right? Looks pretty good. Okay. All right. Any questions on any of that? Okay. We're going to switch gears here just a little bit. So we're going to be creating text, and we are going to be creating it in an annotative manner. But again, there is this way of kind of doing it not the annotative way, okay? So here we are, overview of annotations, and I'll say /annotative text in AutoCAD, okay? And the next thing that I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to show you how to create an annotative text style, okay? And ST on the command line, annotative style, all right? And basically what we're doing here is we are going to define the way a text style looks, so the font, but then also the height of the text, all right? And if you haven't worked in a professional office before, or you're kind of new to drafting / architecture / engineering, whatever, right, product design, and you've never done a set of real construction drawings, I can't emphasize how important text size is on drawings, and how text can really make your drawings look wonderful and neat and clean and cohesive. But on the opposite end, if text is not done correctly or is not the right size in your drawings, how it can make it look terrible, atrocious, and just very unreadable, right? So when I talk about this text style and about specifying the heights, right, I'm not gonna, you know, kind of pound it into you, but I will say this one time that it's an extremely important topic, right? So text is an extremely important topic in construction drawings, okay? So you want to make sure that you have a correct font chosen, and you want to make sure that the text height is the right size. Not only is it the right size for whatever you're doing, but it is it's appropriate. It's the appropriate size, and it's uniform, okay? We don't want different sizes of text unless it's purposeful to be on a page, right? I've showed you some examples of, like, you know, detail sheets and different things, right? And if you look at these drawings, you'll see that, like, all of this text here is cohesive, right? It's all the same size, it's spaced evenly. The only things that are different are going to be titles. So we've got this title here, we have this title here, right? This text is the same height as this text, right? Same thing here. The text is nice, it's cohesive, and when it changes size, there's a reason for it, right? It would be just an atrocity in architecture if this were one size of text and this were another, right? You'd walk up to your boss and set these down, and they would say, first things first, let's make this text cohesive and uniform, right? Okay, so let's talk about how to create a text style, all right? And this is going to be another one of those things that would be very helpful for you to add to your template file, so that you don't have to generate a text style every time you need to add some text to a drawing, which, I mean, generally to this point we haven't known how to do text, of course, but now we will, and you'll be adding text to likely every drawing that you'll be doing. And so to have it inherently built into your template would be a really good idea, okay? All right, so our text style is defined in one place and it's accessed in another, okay? So right here where it says this standard right here, text style, okay? So if I drop this down, we see what's called a gallery view of the text that we have generated in our file so far. So in this file that I'm working with, I only have one text style created or defined, and it's called standard, okay? So if I click on that standard, it's almost like a layer function where by clicking on it, I set it current, okay? So I have my standard text set current. Now, to define a text style, okay, I'm going to click on this little flyout here. And when I do that, my text style editor pops up. And I'm pretty sure it's ST again on the command line. If you type ST, style text, not text style, this text style editor pops up, okay? So if I look at standard and I click on it, you'll see that the font, this is the font type right here, okay? This is the width factor, this is the oblique angle, meaning is it angled at all, italicized. And this is a preview of what that text style looks like, okay? For all purposes in architecture, at least, you're going to want to stay away from these TXT font types. They don't look good, right? This looks very blocky, and this looks very default, is a good way of maybe describing it. If you put this on a set of construction drawings and brought it to a supervisor for review or whatever, the first thing they would say is, number one, you know, if the text height is correct, they would say this font is terrible, you need to, you know, correct the font. So the standard text we're just going to leave alone, we're going to leave it as is, but we are going to generate some new text styles, okay? And in your assignment, so text styles and justification, you're going to be filling out these two CAD files with some information, and part one tells you how to define them. So we want Arial, we want it annotative, we want it to be this height, we want it this width factor, the oblique angle 0, and backwards and upside down text. Okay, we're not doing that just yet. But in the exercise, it will tell you what you need to do. Okay. All right. First thing we need to do is create a new text style to define. So I'm going to click on New, and let's call it Arial 8. So by doing just that, I created my new text style, okay? Now, if I click on that, it's selected and all of its definitions are available, okay? So by default, it just copied the standard. So right now, all of its settings are the same as the standard text style. So I'm gonna change these one by one. I'm gonna come up here to font name, and this is Arial, so I'm gonna click on Arial. Font style regular as opposed to bold or italic. We are going to check annotative, okay? So annotative, this is an important topic, and it took me a really long time to understand this idea of why this was so helpful, okay? And the reason that annotative is so helpful and what annotative does is that it allows AutoCAD to make the text larger or smaller depending on the scale of the drawing you're using. Okay, so text will have to be a lot larger if you're scaling a drawing at 1/8 of an inch is equal to a foot, as opposed to 1/2 of an inch is equal to a foot for the same drawing. Okay, so if I'm scaling something at 1/8 of an inch, the text might be 5 feet tall, and then it will only print at 1/8 of an inch. But the same text in a 1/2 inch scale drawing may be something like 1 foot tall, but still print at 1/8 of an inch. It's a confusing topic. I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, but just know that really this little checking this annotative box is really going to save you a lot of work. We'll just say that. I'm going to click on match text orientation to layout just for now. That means that it will create itself in a readable manner, just like this. It'll orient itself to the layout. And then I'm going to, right here, I'm going to fill out how tall I want my text to be, okay? So, for example, our assignment, we want the text to be 1/8 of an inch tall. Okay, so 1/8 of an inch, enter. Oh, Ooh, I'm going to show you why that did that. I typed an 1/8 of an inch, but it popped it up to 1/4. I'm going to show you why it did that. So I'm going to leave this right now. I'll change it to 1/4, and then we'll fix it in a minute, okay? So we'll do 1/4 of an inch. You notice we can do upside down text. We can do backwards. We're not going to do that. We can change the width factor to 0.80. See how it got more narrow? 0, enter. Oop, 0. Right? Oh, maybe it was 1. 1. 0.8, enter. Oop. And our oblique angle, we're going to leave at 0. Okay, so all of those settings that we just created are applied to our Arial 8. All right, I can hit apply. Well, I've already hit apply by hitting enter. So everything is applied. If I hit cancel now, I get out of this text box, but my style is still created. Okay, if I click on set current, that means if I go to create any text, it will use Arial 8 to create that text. Okay, so I can click on set current, hit close, and now when I create text, I'm going to be using my Arial 8, which is right here, Arial 8. Okay, if I drop down, now I see in my gallery I have not one, but I have 2 different text styles here. Okay, so Arial 8, now when I create my text, I'm going to create some single line text that is centered on this envelope. So text, enter. All right. Now here is where the fun really sort of begins. Okay, and for today, for this assignment you're going to generate, for now, you can make sure you can set this to 1-to-1 and you'll be fine. Okay, don't check this because I want this to be shown to me when I am creating text, because it's going to be very useful for me. But for now, we're just going to leave this at 1-to-1. Although I could change it to any scale here. Okay. So I'm going to hit OK for 1-to-1. That same dialog box that popped up, that inputs the same information as this little annotative scale of current view. Do you see this? There's a little drop down here. Same thing right there. Okay. All right. So text, enter. I'm going to justify. I want to choose middle center, MC. Okay. I'm going to click on the middle point of my text. There we go, click. Do you notice that now it didn't ask me what height I needed my text to be, right? It skipped that step. And the reason it skipped that step was because I defined that height into my style, right? So now if I have Arial 8 chosen, AutoCAD knows that it needs to be 1/4 of an inch tall. Okay, so now it just says, hey, great, I know what height that text needs to be, but do you want it rotated or do you want it to run along, you know, a flat line? So I'm just going to hit 0, so it's a 0-degree angle, enter. Okay. Okay, so it was top middle center, and the top middle center of my text started there and it worked its way down. Okay, so now you can see that the font is how it should be, right? It's that Arial 8. If I had accidentally created this with the wrong font, I could select one of these or all of them, and I could use this drop down and I could change it to like standard, right? Oop, standard. You know, that's terrible though, right? I'm going to select these 2 and I'm going to change this back to Arial. Okay. All right, so for your assignment, when you're required to type a few things onto these lines, right? You're going to create a text style just like we did. You're going to justify that text, you know, to these lines, and then you're going to type it out, essentially. Okay. Let me create a second text style right here under text, this flyout menu, and I'll click on new, and we'll call this one Roman 4. Okay, and this one is going to, Roman 4 is going to use the Romans font. Let's see, Romans, and we want it to be a shape file, Romans, right there, SHX, and We want this to be annotative and match the text orientation of your layout. We want this one to be 1/4 of an inch tall, so that's great. And the width factor, we want this to be 1, and the oblique angle is going to be 0, okay? If I change the oblique angle to like 45, do you see how it starts to slant, right? It italicizes, but that'll be 0. I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to choose Roman 4 and hit set current. Close this out, and now that font, right, Roman 4 right here, is ready for me to use. So Roman 4 looks good, okay? Because it's an annotative text and the height is defined into the text style right here, it says it's 1/4 of an inch, which is what we want, okay? I'm going to type text, enter. I'm going to click on justify, and I want to justify my text with the bottom left corner because I want the bottom left to start here, and I want to type this direction. So BL bottom left, click. Specify the bottom left point of the text. Okay, click. Rotation angle 0, enter. Okay. You guys kind of get the idea, right? Okay. Now, the nice thing about text style is that if I had accidentally created it or made a mistake, okay, and I had text, I'm going to copy this text. You can copy text, you can rotate it, you can move it, you can delete it, right? You can change the layer it's on. So CO, enter. I could copy text up here, click, click. And if I copied text all over my page, or I typed a bunch of things and I'd accidentally, you know, misdefined the text style, the nice thing about a text style is that it is a style, and I can universally or globally change it, and it changes every instance of that style, okay? So if these are all supposed to be Roman 4, but the, you know, the text height was supposed to be 1/2 of an inch, enter. Okay, I hit close. Oh, well, that is the, sorry, we have to regenerate it. So I lied a little bit. It doesn't just regenerate. But now, any text that I create moving forward will have that 1/2 inch associated with it, okay? So now I have, sorry, let me come back up here. Roman 4, I forgot it doesn't regenerate with our annotative, shoot. Okay, anyway. But now our text style, when I move forward, will have that 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch associated with it. Now, when I had created this Roman, or one of them, I can't remember which one I created. When I had created it before, I had typed in 1/8 of an inch, enter, and it bumped it up to 1/4 of an inch. All right, and the reason it did that was because, let me show you. My units are only set to have a precision to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I just typed in units, I hit enter, and my units dialog box popped up. Okay, this is that terrible place where we have to remember to change from decimal to architectural and architectural to decimal and back and forth, right? But if our precision is set to 1/4 of an inch, that means that when I draw in AutoCAD or create things in AutoCAD, it won't make anything smaller than 1/4 of an inch. Like if I want to draw an inch or a piece of line that's 1/8 of an inch long, if this precision is set to 1/4 of an inch, I can't, it will round it up to 1/4 of an inch, okay? So if I change this to 1/32, which it should be anyway, and I hit OK, when I come over here to my text style, Roman 4, now that 1/8 of an inch shows up, okay? It's not being rounded. Enter. Okay, so now I can, down here, TEXT, enter. J, enter. BL, bottom left, enter. Click, enter. Okay. Okay. This is one of those where I really like the keyboard because there's about 5 different settings inherent in creating text, and I don't like having to go down and click, click, and then go back up to my screen, right? I'm a lazy drafter. I don't like to bring my cursor all the way down, click, back up, down. So now I'm going to create one more text style. We're going to create city blueprint, okay, which is AJC's favorite text, an architecture firm here. I'm going to click on New, and we'll call this City Blueprint, and City Blueprint, regular, 1/8 inch is good, annotative, yes. We'll leave these as is. We'll hit apply. It's already been applied. Hit set current. Yes. Close. And now I have not 1, not 2, I have 4 different styles of text in here now. Oh, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I did something very bad. I had Arial 8 selected when I altered that. Let me hit undo. Undo, Control Z. Nope, I have to go back one more time. I don't like to hit undo, Control Z like 8 times when I'm undoing something, because every now and again, you may have run into this, you may not have run into it yet, but every now and again, if you hit undo too many times and you don't realize it, you may undo work on your screen that you don't see, and you know you've done it, right? But it's gone, and it's could be because you hit undo one too many times and it took it away. All right, well, it's still defined, so I didn't go back far enough. So I'm going to change Arial 8 back to Arial 8. Apply, that's good. Click on City Blueprint. City Blueprint, regular annotative, 1/8 inch. We could do upside down if we wanted, right? We could do backwards, which I think you have in your assignment, you have to do some backwards or upside down text. I'm going to hit apply, set current, close, and now I have my City Blueprint. Okay, so I have Arial, City Blueprint, Roman, and I have standard. And TEXT, enter. J for justify, enter. Let's do MC, middle center, MC, enter. Specify the middle center of your text. Well, I want it to be right here, so click, enter. There we go. Okay. I could grab this and I could move it over if I needed to, right? Click, M for move, up, CO, copy. I could copy this if I needed to, if I needed it to be in a bunch of different spots, right? I could do that if I needed to. I could click on this and I could drop down and I could change it to Roman if I needed to, right? The one thing to recognize about text is that when I re-justify it, that it sort of reorients itself from its alignment point, okay, if that makes sense. So this one, do you see how when I changed it to Arial or Roman, it grew outwards on both sides because I justified it from the center, so it grew outwards from both sides. If I had justified it from, you know, the bottom left, it would grow in or out from the right side, right? So if I change this one to City Blueprint, you see how it still maintains its justification on this edge, but it gets larger, okay? All right, so for your assignment, each of these pages is going to be an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper, okay? And you are going to have to print them, all right? You're going to have to fill them out. You can fill it out with your name, that's fine. You don't have to put your address if you don't want to, right? But you're gonna have to create 1, 2, 3 text styles for this first assignment, which is this envelope one. So you are going to create 3 different text styles for this one and fill out the envelopes, okay? I want a DWG file and a PDF file. And I do want you to, I don't think I said it explicitly in here, but I'm going to edit this and put it in here. I want this printed from Paperspace on 8.5 by 11, okay? Let's see. Upload your DWG and PDF files. And number 3, oops, we're gonna bring that back over. Make sure to print from Paperspace for full credit. Okay. So when I get these files, I am going to look at them and I'm going to make sure that you've set up your paper space, okay? And what does that mean? I'm going to go into layout. This page is, the model space is portrait, the paper space is landscape. So I'm going to have to set up my page correctly. Control P. Let's see, Adobe PDF. Letter size, great. What to plot, layout, yes. I could do extents as well. I think I'm going to choose extents because I always like to center the plot. And I don't want that checked. We want this 1-to-1. And we want LaserJet CTB, of course. In this case, I want this portrait because that's how my model space is going to fit in there. So I'm going to hit apply to layout. Okay, my page looks a lot better. And my viewport, I'm just using the viewport that AutoCAD has there, right? I'm going to bring this in, looks good. This drawing in model space is, if it's not exactly 8.5 by 11, it's pretty close. So you're going to have to get this viewport as close as you can to the margin, okay? And I'm going to click on the viewport and I'm going to scale it 1-to-1. Let's hopefully this works. Ah, looks great. Okay. Looks good to me. Control P, and I'm going to preview it. Now, there is a boundary around this, which is printing, which is fine, but I also did not create a viewport that, you know, is not printing. So your job also is to create a new layer that's called viewport and to have it not printed, because if you don't get it lined up perfectly, you'll have 2 lines, and I'll be able to tell anyway with your CAD file, okay? So I could hit print here. Okay, and we'll call this text assignment. And it looks wonderful, right? That's what you turn in, okay? Now, just a little bit of explanation on the second assignment, okay? So you have this sheet, and then we have part 2, which is this one. You are going to have to create a lot of different text styles for this second portion, okay? Don't worry about copying the text justification file from the CAD Common, because right here it says start this exercise with this file. This is the file you need that it says to download, okay? But essentially what you're going to do is, it says using mtext or dtext, which is an we'll call it old-fashioned, Jeff will love that, an old-fashioned name for single line text. Match the drawing below exactly. Create all necessary text styles to complete this drawing. Match the text size and font. Type exactly. Text height is either 1/8 inch or 3/32 inch. For example, the mtext in this box is Arial 1/8 inch in height. Use your object snaps to help you, okay? So this is a single line text, and it's aligned to the bottom left, bottom center, bottom right, okay? And we have 1/8 inch, and we have 3/32 inch. I believe it's Arial. This is all Arial font. But this is Romans. This one is Calibri. This is Arial 1/8 inch, okay? Everything is very descriptive, so you'll create all these text styles. Now, the thing about text styles is that, you know, I may have this text style that is, you know, these fonts are exactly the same, but they have one thing different from one to another. This is a 0.6 width factor, 0.7 width factor, 0.8 width factor, 0.9 width factor, okay? What that means is that you're going to have to create 1, 2, 3, 4 different text styles to create each one of these different pieces of text. One text style that's, I'm just guessing, that one text style that is 3/32 with a 0.6 width factor. Another text style that's 3/32 Arial with a 0.7 width factor, okay? So you're going to probably create 10, maybe 15 different text styles just for this one assignment, okay? This right here is a fit. Everybody always has a little bit of trouble with this one right here, and that's a fit, okay? So when you justify your text, you just use fit. 3/32, yep. Dtext again means single line text. These are multi-line text, and then you can put your real name here, okay? Okay, any questions on any of that? All right. So that's your assignment for the rest of the week. And when we come back on Monday, because fall break is Thursday and Friday, I will talk about dimensions and a little bit more about annotative text, okay? But make sure that if you kind of forget how to set up your annotative text style, just come to this called Overview of Annotations, okay?